Okay, so I'm the one fiction writer on our panel today, and I think it's wonderful because you're right, you get to tell a story of people that we know and share what's happening for them. For my books, of course, as fiction, I'm creating the characters, but I do think because I'm a teacher, I have that sort of insight and opportunity during the day to see young people and to see what young people are doing and hear them talk with one another, find out what's important to them. And I'm kind of in a really good position as a teacher because I'm not a teacher of a regular class. I used to work with at-risk youth, and all of the at-risk youth I worked with, 90% were boys, 10% were female, but for the majority of them, both male and female, they were non-readers. A lot of them weren't reading, either had learning disabilities that made it really difficult or challenging, or had home lives that made it really difficult or challenging to get to books and to get to a place where they were able to read. And so as a teacher, that was a really big challenge for me, was to figure out how do I help support these young people. And back when I was teaching those youth, books weren't available for them. When I finally moved into a place where I was able to start writing, I discovered Orca books and was thrilled because they were targeting our non- and reluctant readers. But what I've discovered over the last 5-6 years is that we also have a lot of young people who are readers and would be avid readers if they had time. Many of you probably have children or grandchildren and know that they are super busy these days with school and after-school activities, and they're in sports and they're in dance and music. And so their time frame for sitting and reading a book is pretty narrow. We also have a lot of new to Canada children and youth who are in our schools and are learning the language. And so as English language learners, they also are starting to come to these books because it's a good bridge between their language, starting with an easier read before they move on to some of the more challenging reads out there. So I'm really lucky in that regard, and we call this kind of a niche market right now. So it is YA, young adult fiction. It is targeted from my Orca Currents, the 3 that I have with Orca Publishers in Victoria, are targeted for 10 to 14-year-olds. And then the 3 books, 2 that I have currently, Dead to Me and Cutter Boy, and my 3rd coming out, which I just learned about 3 days ago, has a new title. Out of all my 6 books, I only got to keep 2 titles. Anyway, my new one called Epic Fail with Lorimer Publishers in Toronto is geared towards the 14 to 18-year-olds. So the slightly older students, and obviously therefore the slightly more mature themes. And as Betty alluded, many of the books are looking at things that are current struggles for our teens and our young folk, things that they might be challenged with, and so both Orca and Lorimer really want us to focus on those realistic themes, things that are a challenge for our young people today. So that's kind of where our books take us, and I really do appreciate that we have those books available because it means we're supporting literacy for our young readers who maybe are struggling. I think even though we may have reluctant readers, I was presented to them and there was a young lady there that said, you know, I've heard that the high-lows are dumbed down for kids. And I said, after reading from my book and talking with her, they aren't. We don't dumb them down, we just are careful around the vocabulary choices we make. We're careful around how we put our sentence structure together, so perhaps more of a mixture of simple and compound, maybe not as many complex sentences, but we still want to challenge those youth, and I think they respect that we want to challenge them.